lot of feedback, producer. Back in the house, back at the mothership, back on top, back at the house, not in the home studio, but back at headquarters, man, back at headquarters. So I'm super. Rue, I see you, Marcus Barber. Rue, I appreciate the support, bro. Super excited. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of things I want to bring up. A lot of topics I need to talk about. I'm still getting a lot of feedback, man.
Get a lot of feedback you hear from?
Yeah, still getting a lot of feedback. And but I think tonight is going to be very, 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 very important. And I'm glad I see some educators jumping on right off the rip. Mark's Barber, one of my frat brothers. I mean, he's been in education for a long time. And tonight's word, I really want to get out to a lot of people. And I don't know why we get all of that, like reverb. But
I got you.
tonight is really going to be crucial. That's why I wanted to go ahead and.
That should do it.
Want that? Yeah, that sounds. I mean, it sounds better, just like a lot of reverb in here. But as long as they can hear, I'm good. You can turn it down a little bit, and I'll keep it moving. You turn it off, bro. But this producer thing.
You should be good right there.
Nah. But man.
You can hear that?
Yeah, I can't, bro. Hold on, dog.
What you doing?
Uh-oh.
What you doing, man?
No, I'm good. I don't know why we're getting all that feedback today. Just like a whole lot of echo. But sorry for the behind the scenes technical difficulties. But the one thing I did want to talk about tonight is, because that's what I put in the post, is investments. One of the things I want to talk about, and the other one is has to do with a project that I'm working on. And if you want to call into the show, 678-381-1973, 678-381-1973. Definitely call into the show. Let me know, what's on your mind, what you're thinking about. If you think I'm doing a good job, or you think I'm not doing a good job, if you got something I need to be researching, looking into, because this show is for you. This show is all about personal finance. We're really making some progress. The team is coming up with a very, very, very interactive website that should be up. I think we're in that 30-day time period right now. I've been working with my web guy. And so I think that should be like mid-September, and we'll really be ready to rock and roll then. But I really appreciate all the feedback from everybody every week. I mean, because to get people to tune into a show it's kind of like network. I mean, to get somebody to tune in every Thursday to hear what you got to talk about, and every week, I mean, the feedback is always just growing. I get a couple of hundred views, not a couple of hundred comments, but a couple hundred views, anywhere from 200 to 500 views, sometimes 1,000 views. And I always get a lot of feedback. Because that way kind of lets me know if I'm doing something the right way or if something needs to be improved upon. So what I try to do is make sure that I do something that's relevant, because one of the things that I talked about on this show from its inception was that I wanted to make sure that I'm doing something that's going to make a difference. I mean, if you've been listening to the show, if you haven't listened, I mean, I have a good time on the show. Every week when I come, I get super excited, because the thing that I like about having this platform is I get the opportunity to help some people. Doesn't matter about numbers. I'm not into a numbers type of person. If it was 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, that would be great, but I'm just trying to start with one person. Change the paradigm, change the way that we think, change the way that we do things, and just let that one person take it on to somebody else. So if I've done that, I mean, I've done my job, and I'm definitely working in my gifting, because I really feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I can do this effortless. I could do it all day, all night, and I love doing it. I love helping people. I love bringing you different information, and the pressure that I would say God took off of me was, because for a long time, what happens is when you have something, that studio, we get a lot of feedback from the other studio, when you have God really working in your life, then what we'll do sometime is we'll short circuit what God's plan is, and we'll come up with an idea that maybe it's either too big, or we're not supposed to be doing it, or I'm not sure, or what have you. So what I like about when you find out what your gift is, and everybody has a gift, and what I feel like a lot of times people spend a lot of time in the limited amount of time that we have here on this earth plane trying to emulate somebody else's success, or trying to do what somebody else is doing when that's not your gifting. So if it's not your gifting, then what I would advise you to do is really just kind of do some soul searching and figure out what's your gifting. If your gifting is, teaching, if your gifting is preaching, if your gifting is selling, if your gifting, whatever your gifting is, it might be in athletics, it might be in academia, but whatever your gifting is, and you'll know your gifting because that's something that you can do pretty much all the time, no problem. You're not going to get fatigued. You're not going to get like, oh, this is a hassle, or this is like work. But this is something that you love to do. You're good at it. People give you feedback and let you know that you're good at it. And it's nothing greater in life than to find out what your purpose is. So for me, I know this is my purpose. And for a long time, and I've shared this on previous shows, for a long time, I should kind of check myself and say, oh, I'm not, because that's what we'll do. We'll say, oh, I'm not a millionaire. Why they want to hear from me? Or I'm not a gazillionaire. Why they want to hear from me? But the truth of the matter is this. Whatever you know that somebody else doesn't know, you can educate them on. So you don't have to be a billionaire, a gazillionaire, what have you, because a lot of times they don't come back or take the time to come back and teach people how they achieve what they achieve. So you can go on YouTube and see a couple videos. Warren Buffett said this, or this multi-billionaire said that. But a lot of times when we learn different things, when you get down to what I call ground zero, or at the grassroots level, a lot of times when people are achieving different successes, they don't want to share that. But what I try to do is mix mine up, where I'm sharing success and I'm sharing some of the pitfalls, and making it where it's light enough where you can laugh. You can laugh at me, because I know I've had some financial pitfalls, and the good thing about it is I've learned from it. And not only did I learn from it, I made a promise to myself that all the stuff that I went through, all the hardship that I had to endure, that I was going to take those lessons and turn it around and make it where it benefits me from the rest of my life, in the form of helping people, turning it into books, turning it into tapes. But it's, a lot of it had to do with mindset, just you changing your mindset. And before we get into tonight's topic, I definitely want to, encourage you all to call in. 678-381-1973. 678-381-1973 is the number to the studio. But one of the things that's always kind of, I guess you would say, not so much disturbing to me, but just, it just leaves me in like a quandary, a conundrum, just something that's just, I don't understand. On one hand, people say, I want you to tell me how you did it. Not me personally, but I'm just saying in general, how you did it, right? How did you make such and such? Or how did you become this successful business owner, or what have you? But then when people start to tell you, then you have people coming out saying, oh, you're trying to take advantage of people, or oh, anybody can do that. This person is a scam artist. And I saw some stuff today on Facebook as I was preparing for the show, and this guy, and I referenced his book on our show previously. His name is Grant Cardone. If you Google Grant Cardone, a whole bunch of stuff is going to come up, because he's an animal in the marketplace. He's doing his thing, what have you. But what Grant Cardone did is, what he's doing is trying to just educate people. That's all. But I think we've talked about this before as well. Grant Cardone said, if you don't have any haters, if you don't have any opposition, then you're really not doing anything. So I guess I just answered my own question, because today I was just, like I said, I was kind of in a conundrum, because I was like, why are these people, oh, he's just trying to get more money. He's just trying to take money. Anybody can do that. But if anybody can do it, why haven't they done it? I mean, this is a man that's already broke the $100 million, $200 million mark as far as, income is concerned, or revenue. So why would you want to hear from somebody like that? Because if we at our, $1 million level, or $500,000 level, $750,000 level. I want to hear from some people that got some wisdom, you know. So that's always kind of disturbing to me. But we have a lot of fun with the show talking about that. So jumping into tonight's topics, and this is just some stuff that was on my mind. I'm always bringing things that are on my mind, things that's happening in the media. So we're gonna stay in that same spirit of back to school. So last week we talked about, you know, the cost of going to college, this epidemic that we're seeing going on where maybe 40% of the kids that enter into college end up, you know, not completing their degrees. So you got like 40% of the people that enter into college ultimately don't receive a degree, and then they get caught in this, you know, I guess you would say this place where they haven't received their degree, but at the same time, they owe this money back for loans. So they just kind of stuck. So we talked about that, and we talked about the cost of going to college and the things about, you know, things that we need to be aware of. I mean, just trying to be fiscally fit, as one of my friends said. And this week we want to talk about, I really want to get back on the investment piece. And when I'm talking about investment, I want all of us to just take a few minutes and just think about kind of like where we are now and where we want to be, what we want to be doing, and how much have we really taken the time to invest in ourselves. And what I mean by how much is, you know, I think about how much we put into other things. And I'll just give you an example, cable. See, things like that always jump out at me, like cable. I mean, sometimes, right now, the way cable costs, some people pay $100, some people pay $200 a month in cable. So, because they want to make sure they don't miss their episode or the finality of such and such. And I get that because it's entertainment and we want to do that. But I get it. But if you think about it on a monthly basis, if you're paying a $200 cable bill, you figure in a year you done paid $2,400 to make sure that you ain't missed the last episode of whatever your favorite show. So I'm not going to name any shows because I look at some of them too. I got to wait till I can't wait the next week on a couple of shows. So I'm not going to, you know, like I said, be hypocritical. But if you just think about that, $200 a month for 12 months is $2,400, and in 10 years. So for all of the people out there that have cable for the last 10 years, you spent roughly about $24,000 in television. So just let that sink in a little bit. Like, wow, I spent $24,000 in cable. That's a lot of money. So I'm saying that to say I really want all of us to be open-minded and be thinking about, you know, investing in ourselves in things like seminars, workshops, conferences, anything that's within your gifting that's going to separate you from everybody else. That's going to separate you and bring you away from being, you know, in that average group, or being and taking you to a level where you're more sought after because you're the expert. You're the person that's saying, hey, I can do this because I've been prepared for this. And it's definitely well worth it. I mean, studies have shown it, research showing it. If you're the top person in whatever field that you're in, you could be the top plumber, you could be the top salesman, you could be the top beautician, anything where you're in the top. And if you're in the top 10%, then you are going to command the lion's share of whatever's being spent in that industry. So, you know, whatever industry that you're working in, and I would definitely strongly encourage you to, you know, make sure that you continue to invest in yourself, because I think investing in yourself is no greater return. And I was reading an article recently on Floyd Mayweather, and I think it's timely because now Floyd Mayweather is getting ready to fight Saturday. You know, Conor McGregor, there's a whole lot of hype around it. Everybody has an opinion about it. And you can research this, and like I always tell you on every show, don't believe what I say. Go out and research it for yourself. But there's an article out on the internet, and the title of the article is Mayweather makes $750,000 bet that changes his life, basically. So the article, the summation of the article is this: about 10 years ago, the first 10 years of Floyd's fighting career, he really wasn't having big purses. He wasn't having the big draws, the $1 million fights. He was really working hard. He was the champ, and he was doing things, but he wasn't having these big, mega fights that he's had in the last 10 years. So he's been in the fight game 20 years. So he's 40 years old and hasn't lost a fight since 20 years ago when he was in Atlanta, in the Atlanta I want to say the Atlanta Olympics, and he was disqualified, and that was the last fight that he lost. But first 10 years of his career, he really wasn't making that type of money. The guy at the time that was promoting him was Bob Arum, and Bob Arum 10 years ago offered him a $12 million payday for a fight. It was really for a group of fights, like 3 fights. And Floyd Mayweather at the time, the highest grossing purse that he had was $1 million. So Bob Arum comes in and says, hey, I'll give you $12 million. And Floyd Mayweather, so he anticipated that Floyd Mayweather was just going to jump right in and say, oh yeah, definitely. But Floyd Mayweather's response was, that's slave wages. I have the talent. I'm doing the work. I know how I need to be promoted, and I need to be promoted differently because I need to be promoted in the African American hip hop community more prominently than the way that Bob Arum wanted to do it. So Bob Arum thought he was just being, he was just giving a little pushback. He was going to definitely go for it ultimately, but he turned down $12 million and paid Bob Arum $750,000 to buy out his contract. So Bob Arum told him at the time, he was like, you're making a huge mistake. You'll never make the kind of money that you're thinking you're going to make. And over the last 10 years, this man has made almost $1 billion in purses. He had the $250 million deal with Showtime for like 5 fights. He went through that. He had another fight, another package with HBO, went through that. This Conor McGregor fight, I mean, the numbers are like all over the place. By the time you add up the pay-per-view and his purse and everything, some people are saying he might make close to a couple of $100 million, $200 million for one fight. So I'm saying all that to say that it comes back to the point that I was making. Bet is no better bet than you betting on yourself. So in Floyd Mayweather's case, it might have been $750,000 at the time. But in our case, it might be a $10,000 bet, a $50,000 bet. I mean, would you bet $50,000 on you and your gift, whatever your gift is? Would you bet $50 on yourself? Would you invest $50 in yourself, in what you do? So I always say, if you asking me, and I know I know my wife is on, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer this question. I'll definitely bet $50,000 on me because I don't think I can lose when I'm working in my gifting and the things that I'm working on. I don't think I can lose. It might take some time, but I would bet 50. I would bet 100,000 on me, especially if I'm going to bet on somebody else like cable or cell phones and that kind of stuff. So I would definitely bet on myself. So, definitely take some time and think through that. Again, this show's about personal finance and, credit and money management, things of that nature. But you also want to make sure that you're always thinking about how can you leverage yourself in order to make the most amount of money in your lifetime, so that way you have something not only for your children, but your children's children. So one of the things that I definitely want to talk about tonight was the importance of investing in yourself, and we've talked about that. The other thing I want to talk about is something big, and this is really big, and with this one, you definitely might want to call in 678-381-1973, 678-381-1973. I see a lot of people, joining, and want to make sure that I'm, respectful of everybody's time. But one of the things that I've been working on through my show is partnering with a nonprofit organization, because I want to make sure that I can start to create scholarships for students that are in their graduating year of college, meaning either their fall semester or the spring semester of their graduating year. And the reason I say their graduation year is because I want to make sure that some of these students, because there's studies out there that show every year at every university, HBCUs, predominantly white colleges, whatever college, university that you look at, there's a segment of the graduating class that ends up not graduating, even though they are close to completing their requirements to graduate, but they don't have the financial means to graduate. So it might be $5,000, it might be $2,000, but they are short on them having all of the funds that they need in order to meet the graduation requirements. Because at most schools, it's all the same. You have to meet and pay all of your fees and things that are due before they will allow you to graduate. So we want to make sure that what I want to do is this. I want to create a fund, a scholarship, by partnering with a nonprofit, whereas we can work with the board of the nonprofit and create scholarships for students that would ensure that they would graduate from college. So the question always comes, like, which students, how would you vet it out? So we're already in the vetting out process, but I just want to kind of plant this seed so that way you all will know where we're coming from as far as how serious we are about helping people in our community when it comes to education. So with education, the thing that we're looking to do is, and one of the steps that me and some of my partners have taken this year is to look at things that people are interested in. And one of the things that people are always interested in is entertainment, especially in the form of sports. Baseball, football, basketball. The good thing is we're in Atlanta, we're in a sports town. Whether or not we win world championships, we haven't, reached that level yet. So we're not a Cleveland or LA or Boston where we have all these banners in the rafters, but we do have teams and we do have a lot of, desire and anticipation and people interested in going to these types of events. So what me and my team have done is we've collectively come together and we purchased some tickets for different events in the Atlanta market. Some baseball, some football, some soccer tickets, because we know all of those are very, very popular. So what we've been doing is now we're starting to get to a point where we're going to be partnering with a nonprofit organization. And when we partner with this nonprofit organization, we're really going to be doing two different things. One, I'll talk about a little later. I won't talk about today because we're still trying to vet it out, make sure, it has all of the legalese and everything's above board. But one thing that I can talk about is this. We've already donated a certain number of tickets to the nonprofit. And what we're going to be looking to do beginning this weekend is to utilize those tickets so people can purchase tickets through the nonprofit, and the proceeds from the ticket sales are going to go back out into the community as scholarships. So we think that's pretty powerful. And just to give you a quick story on that, the reason that I wanted to spearhead something like that is it's simple. Because 20 years ago, my daughter, it was like, just say 17 years ago, because she's 23, so she was 6 years old. 17 years ago, I went to sign up my son and both of my daughters into a basketball program, like a rec league. Get to the rec league, sign them up. But the problem was, when we signed up, was this. We only had, there were 2 women coaches for maybe like 10 girls teams. They had like 10 girls teams that had signed up. Well, the number of girls that had signed up, it would comprise 10 teams. But what ended up happening was they announced that they weren't going to be able to have 10 girls teams because they only had 2 girl coaches. So because they only had 2 girls coaches, then what happened at that point was like, hey, we don't have enough coaches. We'll just go ahead and go with the boys. But the boys teams, they had a waiting list. And that always surprised me because I was like, wait a minute. I mean, they're all kids, so the boys and the girls should really have the same. So at that time I decided, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and, volunteer to be a girls coach. I'll coach a team and make sure that, we can field the team, and I coach my daughter's team. And man, let me tell you, that was, I think my daughter's still after me about that one, but what happened with that was, what I got out of that lesson was this. Sometimes when we want things to happen, you have to be the person that makes it happen. So if you feel like something is not going on in your community and you want to change it, then you're going to have to be the change agent. So what I did at that point was I went in and made sure, I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll be a coach. So the same thing has happened, henceforth. We went 20 years later, and now I'm looking at this scholarship situation and I'm saying to myself, like, if somebody wants to change this, why not me? And the thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that I put myself in a position where I can help people. So instead of me waiting on someone to come up with a scholarship or figure out a scholarship or things of that nature, then what I decided I would do is I'm going to make sure that we raise the funds for the scholarship and start giving the funds out. So that way I don't have to wait for anyone. I don't have to say, hey, we haven't raised enough money or we haven't done, X, Y, Z. I'm really going to take it upon myself to say, hey, let me help spearhead this, create some funding for some scholarships, and then give that scholarship money out to deserving students. So like I said, we're going to vet that process out. So if you know anyone that's in the market for Falcons tickets or in the market for Braves tickets or things of that nature, then make sure that you reach out to me. You can reach me at the Daily Bread Radio Show at yahoo.com. You can send me an email or let me know, that you're interested or someone that's interested in purchasing tickets. Again, the proceeds from the ticket sales will be going to students that are in need of scholarships. So that's something that we're going to be, looking to do. We're very excited about having the opportunity to do that, and we want to make sure that we get the word out, because a lot of times when we're doing things, we promote, but we don't promote everything. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that everything that we're doing, that we can make sure that we get the word out and we can look at ways of changing people's lives. So the other thing that I'm also looking at is we have to get more invested into our community. So again, thinking about investing, we can't wait for something to come down and swoop down and say, okay, this entity is going to take care of our kids. We got to take care of our kids. We are going to have to come together and take care of our kids. So when it comes to scholarships and the number of students that are not graduating from college, I think that's something that's very, very, very important, because if you think about it, all the injustices that are going on in the world, that could be somebody that was a political science major that was on their way to law school, or a doctor in the making, or city councilman in the making. But it's nothing worse than to go through 3 years of college, get into your 4th year, and then you find out that you're not going to be able to graduate because you $5,000 short, $4,000 short, things of that nature. So I'm definitely going to need your help with getting the word out on this, and I'll continue to do some additional promoting. First preseason game of the Falcons is this weekend, so we're already working with some nonprofit organizations. I was talking to some brothers earlier that was on the earlier show. They have a nonprofit as well. I'm going to be working with some area high schools and colleges that have different organizations where they're trying to raise funds or do fundraisers. I'm going to, look to partner with them through the nonprofit as well. So that way, as they're raising funds and they're meeting their goals, they have something they're trying to do. We're also going to be meeting our goal by making sure that we can raise some scholarship funding for these students, because it's nothing, nothing like raising it. And it's not about, I guess you would say, volume. It would be great if we could raise $1 million, and that's really our goal over the next 3 years, is to raise $1 million that we can give back out into the community. And I think that's more than doable. But when you start now, just my goal is one. In the 2017-2018 academic school year, my goal for this show and the nonprofit, and partnering with the nonprofit American Financial Literacy Association, my goal is to help one student that might have otherwise not graduated from college, to help them graduate from college. That's all I need, is one. So it's not that I'm setting my goals low. I just want to make sure that it's attainable. So it's not always about like, let's get to 10 or let's get to 20. Start with one. Let's get that one in. Because if you start with one will turn into two will turn into four will turn into six will turn into, and you just go exponentially. But if you don't start with that one and you worried about, I can never get to 10, it's kind of like going and working out and you want to start off at 225. Don't be embarrassed. You can't do 225. Everybody around you benching 225. That's cool. But you may not be at 225. Start at 135. Just put them 245s on there and press that 135 like it's 225. Well, close your eyes and you think, act like you're doing 225 or 325 or whatever you want to be doing, but start where you can make a difference. You start there. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry about what the man on the left and the right is doing. Just have the satisfaction of knowing that you're going to be able to impact somebody's life that otherwise wouldn't have been impacted. So just think, because for me, all of my kids have graduated from college. So a selfish way of thinking about it would be, hey, my kids graduated from college. I'm on to doing something else. I'm going to be working in this space. So I need to be doing that. But one of the things that I've always been really sensitive to is when we say community, that means everybody. Community is not just when it's convenient for you to do something, but you got to think about people like Harriet Tubman, and I've been doing some research recently on the Underground Railroad. Think about that. Think about Harriet Tubman. This is a young lady, and I think sometimes we kind of just, what I call glaze over history or just kind of thumb through it and think, but we don't take time to just sit down and think about, man, how deep that is. Think about this. You're a slave. You are enslaved, right? You're getting the whippings, the beatings, the rapings, the everything. You are a slave. And you have the fortitude to say, you know what? I'm going to escape. I'm going to plan an escape to escape this, this harsh reality of what we call quote unquote slavery. And you're successful. You didn't get caught. You didn't get hung. You didn't get beat. You found a way to get out of slavery. Like literally, like I'm gone. I've escaped. I'm gone. Now think about what kind of mindset you got to have to say, you know what? I know I've escaped slavery. I know I'm free. Nobody's bothering me. There's no bounty on my head. Nobody knows who I am or what I'm doing. I'm free. And you take it upon yourself and say, you know what? I'm free, but I'm going to go back and help some other people. You're going to go back into harm's way to say, hey, you ready? You ready? You ready? You ready? And put yourself at risk, because we know, like we know today, anytime that you start to do something, it's hard to convince somebody that their way of thinking is not the right way, right? So just imagine this lady comes showing up and she's telling you, hey, I got a route, we're going to get you out of slavery. People are like, I'm not doing that, right? So, and she put herself in harm's way. She freed 500 people. 500 people that had offspring. We don't know how many thousands of people that impacted. So I'm, not that I'm Harriet Tubman, but the thing I'm looking at is like, if I can help one person, I can help one person realize their dream of attaining a college degree, then I'm going to do it. I'm all in. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to figure out a way. And one of the things me and my producer was talking about earlier, a lot of times we got to use our imagination and stop listening to all of the people that say, that don't make sense, or you can't do that, or the school ain't going to go for that. And I don't care. So what? But one thing I do know is this. As you start to interrogate the universe, as you start to interrogate what's real, what's possible, then, especially when you see different examples of it, right? And a good example of it is what? Conor McGregor. Everybody's talking about Floyd beating this man, right? Floyd's going to do this, Floyd. But the truth of the matter is, people really don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen. And this man, I sat there and watched, I was like, this man is taking himself from where he was at 5 years ago. Because one of the reporters said, well, hey, 5 years ago you was on welfare. How does it feel now to be in a mega fight? He said, I feel the same way. He said, it just took me some time for me to fulfill my dream. But just think of what kind of mindset he had to have to be even thinking that he's getting to go in and fight the top boxer. He's not fighting no Mayorga. He's not fighting all of these other people who are contending. He's fighting the top person in the game. That's like he's not even a professional boxer. So even if he lose, does he lose really? Like really, does he lose? If Floyd Mayweather gave you the opportunity to fight him, and you got the opportunity to go from where you are today to going 10 times higher. This man's last purse was $3 million. His guaranteed purse for this, minimal, is $100 million. Minimal. And the other part is this. Vegas is worried because so many people have bet on Floyd Mayweather. They said if Conor McGregor, for whatever reason, for however it comes down, if Conor McGregor in any kind of way ends up winning this fight, they're worried that they're not going to have enough money to pay out all of the money for the winners. Think about that. And this is somebody who just he thought about it in his mind and put it into play. He put the whole thing. This is P.T. Barnum at his best. He convinced everybody that I'm a worthy opponent. He might go in there, even if he got knocked out in 10 seconds, $100 million. $100 million. His life will never, ever be the same again. So what if he loses? So he already won. He's already won. So I'm saying that to say, let's help some people. Let's do some things that's going to help more than just us. Because as we doing just us, then we need to give back. Pay it forward. Looking at people, be happy when people are doing different things. So tonight's book, because every week we gotta make sure that we always have a book that we're going to recommend. The other thing that we're going to be doing with the raising money for the scholarship. The other good thing about that is that I want to talk about tonight. We still have time because it's just 8:40. Here's a strategy for you. We're in August. We're in August. We're going into September. A lot of people have not started thinking about, which we should have been thinking about in January, what's going to be our tax strategy in 2017, right? Because we're not thinking that far ahead. Some people they're waiting until they get ready to file their taxes in 2018 to decide what type of deductions should they have taken in 2017. So here's a tax strategy. What if you made a donation? Let's think through this. What if you made a donation to a nonprofit organization, and for dollar, this is a tax deduction, dollar for everything that you donated to that nonprofit organization, which in turn turned around and compiled all of your funds with some other like-minded people and other people that needed to have a tax deduction, and turned around and created a scholarship. Real easy tax strategy, because everybody's looking for tax write-offs at the end of the year in December. But what if we was proactive and start thinking about it in August? Like we should have been in January, but you still got time. Just something to think about. Just something I want you all to just marinate on. So one of the things that I'm going to also do this year is I'm going to re-release my book. I wrote a book back in 2007. It's called My College Finance, A Guide to Understanding Personal Finance for Students and Parents. I wrote this book back in 2007 with one objective in mind: to educate students and parents about the basics of personal finance. So what I'm going to do this year, 10-year anniversary, I'm going to come back and redo the cover. I'm going to get a 10-year anniversary cover made by, I have an in-house graphic designer, hint, hint, and I'm going to let him do the cover of the book. So we'll have a 10-year anniversary My College Finance re-release, and then part of the proceeds from the book sales are going to also go towards those scholarships. So we're going to be doing My College Finance. If you haven't picked up a copy of this, definitely reach out to me. Let me know you want to get a copy. They're only $10, and you'll be making a donation to a worthy cause. So that's My College Finance. And the good thing about this book, this is one of the best books ever written, not just because I wrote it, but I did a lot of research when I went into this book. And what I always challenge people to do is you can flip to any page in this book, and wherever I stop, there's going to be some information that a lot of young people, college age, high school age, are not aware of. And I just flipped through it. I just stopped at. So listen to this: credit and employment. There's a new credit implication affecting millions of college students, but very few are even aware that this new practice. An increasing amount of employers have started to review credit reports of potential applicants. This process has serious consequences for college graduates. Prospective employers have started using credit reports to make determinations regarding hiring. During the recruiting process for new hires, a college student's creditworthiness has become equally as important as a good GPA. In addition to credit histories, potential employers are also concerned about how much personal debt a new college graduate has accumulated. That was 10 years ago. Is that still relevant today? By all means, because like we talked about last week, the average college student is graduating with $35,000 worth of student loan debt. A lot of them are not able to attain the type of jobs that they thought they were going to be able to attain, and they're caught in this vicious cycle. So when you start looking at credit and not knowing that a company's going to be looking at your credit when you are seeking employment, that's something that you need to be aware of. So excellent book, excellent for any high school or college graduate or adult for that matter. So My College Finance. The other book that I want to really highlight tonight is called Organize Yourself. Now, even though this show is about personal finance, one of the main pitfalls of personal finance is what? Being disorganized. Being disorganized. I mean, being disorganized in your home environment, being disorganized at work, being disorganized in your finances, because habits tend to follow you, right? So I'm going to give you an example. If you run into somebody who's very, very neat, like they are neat, like clothes tight, grooming tight, everything is impeccable, really just on top of things, they tend to be the same way with their finances. They tend to be very neat with their finances. So one of the things that you want to do is, if you go into someone's, and I'm saying anybody, if you go into somebody's home environment, and when you go into the home environment, if you see stuff just scattered everywhere, shoe over here, coat over there, hat over there, a plate of food over there, pack of cigarettes, or something else over here, or something over there. If you see something like that, when you just go into your partner house, y'all about to go to the fight party, whatever. If you go in there and you just look around, and you're like, whoa, okay, got it. Or if you're not even in home environment, you can go by somebody's cube at work. Do you realize if you go by somebody's cube and you just see stuff just willy-nilly on top of their desk and stuff all over the place, they tend to be the same way with their finances. This is a good book. It's called Organize Yourself. And the author of the book is Ronnie Eisenberg and Kate Kelly. Again, I never bring books to you that I haven't read. This one is highlighted. I always like to go through my books. I believe books are written to be used, not to be read and put down. But in this one, I read the chapter on banking. There's also a chapter that's on budgeting. And we've talked about budgeting and what it means to budget, but that's something that I think everybody needs to be aware of. But one of the things that I always encourage people to do, if you ever get to the point where you really say, well, hey, you know what, I'm ready for a change, I'm ready to make a difference, I'm ready to improve my personal finance, first thing I would tell you to do, clean up. Start cleaning up. Because when you start cleaning up and start being neat and start having things in place where you're not going in circles like all the time, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? Where's this? And I know me personally, I know a lot of times I ask my wife, where's the keys? Where's this? Where's that? So it's some stuff that I need to work on, but that's just being transparent. But the thing about that is this: when you get to the point where not only that you're neat, but the thing that I'm teaching in our show is this: you need to start planning for your financial future. So when you start to plan out things, and I'll bring back the calendar next week, and we'll start getting back down to the basics. But when you start planning things on that calendar, and you know every month where everything needs to be paid, and the date, and how much, and when you paid them last, and here's a question for you right now, just like a pop quiz like we used to do in college. Here's a pop quiz for you. Think about all of the stuff that you owe right now. Might be a credit card, might be a car loan, might be a student loan, might be mortgage. I want you to just think to yourself. You don't have to answer. You don't have to call into the show. You don't have to even say on Facebook Live. But here's something I want you to just think about. Do you know, specifically, do you know the interest rate on every account that you owe someone for? Interest rate. do you know what the rate is? Like the mortgage, the student loan, the car loan, the personal loan, the title loan, anything that you owe some money to somebody for, anything. Do you know the rate? I'm not talking about guessing like, oh, I think it's like 10%, or I'm not talking about, I'm talking about, do you know with surety how much the interest rate is, and how much interest, and I'm gonna take it, that's step one, and step two is, how much interest have you paid in 2017? And I'm gonna take it to a third step, and how much of that interest is tax deductible? Because I believe in uplifting on this show, so think about those three things. Do you know the rate, right? Do you know the rate? Do you know how much interest aggregate, like if you look at all of the things that you owe, do you know how much interest you've paid this year? And thirdly, do you know which accounts that you have where you paid interest, which are tax deductible? Or is any of it tax deductible? So just something to think about as you're thinking about personal finance. We're coming up on the top of the hour, 678-381-1973, 678-381-1973. We had an awesome show thus far. We talked about investing in yourself. That's something I take very seriously. We also talked about some programs that we put in place for some scholarships. So we're going to use our tickets, and we're going to leverage our tickets, partnering with the nonprofit organization. And what we're going to do is we're going to, offer those tickets to the public. Proceeds from those ticket sales are going to go back out in the form of scholarships. So we're hoping that we can help how many people? One. That's all we need. We're going to help one student, 2017, 2018, and then the next year maybe we can get into something bigger. Because a lot of times when I see people giving these different organizations, they I gave $500. I'm like, man, you made $1 billion. Why would you give out a $500 scholarship? That's just, I don't understand it, when you make that kind of money. So I'm trying to make a difference. I'm going to do everything that I can to work within that space, so that way, as a collective, and these are things that we do anyway. So again, I want you all to be using your imagination to think how this thing could go for you, and how many people can we benefit, and how important is it for us to be pouring into somebody else and not just be thinking self all the time. Because many times we think that we want to be the winner. Hey, bless somebody else. Let somebody else know that, hey, what you do is important, and we need that help. And it's anytime that you give, you're going to receive. Anytime you give. And if you've ever given to somebody, I don't care if it was a person on the side of the road or you just donated anytime that you give and you've helped somebody, it makes you feel good. So that's what we're all about. We're all about feeling good on our show. We're all about being, financially, and what we call fiscally fit. So if you know somebody that you want to bless with making a donation to the nonprofit, and in return, you could be going to see the Falcons, try to make their repeat run to the Super Bowl, or you can be going to see the Atlanta United, or you could be going to see the Atlanta Braves. And we have some additional tickets that are going to be coming online pretty soon. Here was a big one. I was working on a deal, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because I think that deal is over. But it's relevant. Kyrie Irving got traded day before yesterday to the Boston Celtics, right? So my partners that I was working with, Kyrie went from Cleveland to Boston, and the first game, think about this, the first game of the NBA season, the first one, opening night, Boston at Cleveland. Oh my gosh. So we were working on trying to get some tickets for that, and the deal kind of fell through. It was some technicalities that came up, and but just think about how I guess you say sought after that ticket, or how much interest is going to be around purchasing tickets for that event. But we're going to do some similar events this year in 2017 again to help raise funds for scholarships, so that way we can help some college students, because we got to get creative. We can't keep using the same methods that we've done in the past and just pass the hat, or hey, would you like to donate? Because sometimes people, it's just the way people are. Sometimes people want things in return. So what we've tried to do is take something that has value to it and add it and give it out in the marketplace, so that way that people, feel even better. Like, hey, I want to make a donation, but I would love to go see the Falcons in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium and, enjoy myself and things of that nature. So definitely want to make sure that you share this concept with some of your friends and family members on Facebook. Put it out there. They can leave comments, or they could, reach out to me on Facebook through Daily Bread Radio Show on the Facebook page, or you can reach me by email, dailybreadradioshow@yahoo.com. And that way, let me know if you're interested. Let me know if you know somebody's interested, school, church, any organization that's trying to raise funds. The nonprofit will be in a position to partner with them, and they would also be able to take advantage of those tickets for this upcoming season, so that way we can, again, help to raise money and create some scholarships for some deserving students, and just have a good time with it. So we got about 5 minutes left in the show. I always want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's always a joy. I'm definitely, I'm practicing. My producer, I came back to this is headquarters. So the last 2 weeks I've been in the home studio with the books behind me and everything. So had to come back home, come back to the headquarters and, get with producer live, so that way we can continue to do what we're doing. And we have quite a few people and quite a few lives to impact this year. So I appreciate all of the support that everyone provides on a weekly basis, because like I said, it is very difficult to get people to tune in to different things, because everybody got busy lives. So to say, hey, I want you to come look at this 60-minute, podcast or Facebook Live, it's very, challenging. So I definitely feel, humbled and appreciative when people tune in, and I know they may be multitasking or what have you, but based on the feedback that I received, then I know I'm definitely doing something right. So I appreciate everybody that's tuning in for that. Thank you for helping to spread the word, because we are starting to get people from all over reaching out to us about the Daily Bread Radio Show, and we got some other opportunities that are coming up for the Daily Bread Radio Show this year. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we always do is show our appreciation for our supporters. So definitely want to be doing that. And I think we got about 4 minutes left. So one of the things I want to leave you with is this: as we move forward into the remaining part of 2017, definitely, I would encourage you to get back to the basics. Go back to the things that we talk about, and I'm gonna look at starting that whole series back up again that we started back in February when I came onto the show. Just that whole process of getting your bills in order, getting everything on your calendar, knowing your household budget, knowing exactly how much you need to generate, how much, either you have a surplus or you got a deficit, and really start to manage, the way that you make money, and then look for some other opportunities that you can utilize to create some additional income. So that might come in the form of, cutting some yards or doing some lawns or starting a business. That's something that I'm a huge proponent of. So if you haven't started a business thus far, then that's something I would strongly encourage you to do. Especially before the end of the year, you can get with your tax advisor and make sure that you're doing everything legitimately and everything's in place. But once you have everything in place, make sure that you take advantage of all of the tax benefits that are allowed for people to have businesses. So one of the things that you always want to be aware of as you continue to grow, in your knowledge of personal finance, you don't always have to own everything, but you do want to control it. Wealthy people who have power, they don't have to own everything. You just want to control it. You just want to be able to say, I control the pieces on the board. I control how this is going to go. Sometimes it's going to benefit you directly. Sometimes it's going to benefit you indirectly. And sometimes you're just going to be in a position where you can, bless some people. So with that, I'm going to make sure that we continue to do what we do here on the Daily Bread Radio Show. So make sure you continue to spread the word. My producer is still signaling at me. He wants me to keep going. But the thing about that is, once you put everything in place, just changing your mindset. Oh yeah, we do have a good, my producer reminded me we got a serious promotion for all of the, everyone out there that has a business. Listen to this. This is an incredible offer. For $100, what we're offering here at DKN Radio is this. For $100, you can get 10 30-second spots on our internet radio platform. Now, for those of you all that don't listen to DKM radio, we start off early in the morning with the Morning Glow, and it goes throughout the day. So it's multiple shows on every day. I just happen to be in the evening. I'm from 8 to 9, but from 7 in the morning to 9 at night, 10 at night, every week, every day, there's different shows and different platforms. So if you have a small business, $100 will get you 30 commercial radio spots. That's
30 seconds.
Oh, 10 for 30. I said 30. I was like, shoot, let me get one of them. All right, my producer corrected me. For $100, you'll get 10 30-second radio spots. Did I say that right? Okay. Not 30. You won't get 30. You get 10 30-second radio spots. But even with that, think about it. 10 radio spots for 30 seconds. So you can promote your business, tell people what you're doing, and how many customers do you need to acquire to cover that $100? So depending on what your business is, most cases, one. The small business that I've been affiliated with over the last 10 years, one, no more than two. And the thing about one customer is this, and I'm gonna leave you all with this, from a business standpoint. One customer, what you value is, you don't value that one time that they purchase from you, but that customer can become a lifelong customer. So that $100 that you spent, you get one customer, they might have got something from you this year, they might get something from you in 3 months, they may get something from you again in 6 months, and then you become their go-to person, and you spent $100. So $100, you get 10 30-second spots. So we're at the top of the hour, our time is up. I want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. Make sure that you share this with someone. I'll see you next week, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., DKM Radio. This is the Daily Bread Radio Show. And you all have a blessed week. Have a great weekend. And again, if you know anyone that's interested in donating to a very, very, very deserving nonprofit organization, reach out to me at Daily Bread Radio Show at yahoo.com. Thank you all. Y'all have a great week. And I'll talk to you all next week. Ooh.